I built stuff in these streets. People rely on me. They rely on me. You thought I knew or planned that I was gonna be taking care of my brothers and sisters? I'm the reward. This life I built for you is the reward. You know what? You can leave.
It was a case so disturbing and so deeply personal that it shocked not only Chicago, but the entire nation. And all of it happened over a foolish reason. A young man murdered his own mother, and fate caught up with him very quickly. A rising rapper who had become known for showing off his wealth on social media gained notoriety not because of his music, but because of something far more sinister. In a case that was almost impossible to comprehend, people struggled to make sense of such cruelty. Yet this was only the start. What happened in the years following his arrest would make the public even more horrified. Because long after his conviction, once the trial was over and the cameras were gone, prison reports would reveal that Wilson was assaulted while behind bars, becoming a target for fellow inmates in circumstances that even correctional officers found disturbing. This is the story of Wilson, a rapper who went from showing off his wealth in music videos to serving a 99-year prison sentence.
I'm QC, I'm ballin', and I'm rich, hold up. Doors on the car, go up. See a bad bitch like skirt, hold up. Take her to my home, kiss her on her neck. Get her out her thong, but not until she's I know she wet.
This heartbreaking story took place in the busy city of Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. Chicago is full of energy and is famous for its impressive lakefront skyline, its strong jazz and blues traditions, and the deep cultural pride found across its neighborhoods. Its residents are resilient and diverse, often described as tough but welcoming. Their identity is shaped by generations of history, hard work, and loyalty to their hometown. But in 2012, beneath the energy of its lively streets, the city was facing a serious wave of violent crime that affected communities across Chicago. Powa Wilson, who was born in the early 1990s, says was in his early 20s when he began trying to build a career in music. Using the name Young QC, he promoted his songs and flashy lifestyle through YouTube and social media. But beneath that image was a growing desire for more. More fame, more money, and more attention. Prosecutors would later argue that this desire eventually pushed him toward a disturbing path. It began with Yolanda Holmes. Yolanda was not simply Wilson's mother. She was everything to him. His provider, his protector, and his strongest supporter. According to those who knew her, Yolanda did everything possible to provide her son with a better life. She was a single mother raising her only child on Chicago's North Side, in the Uptown neighborhood.
Mimi did not get in the water. Don't tell the people. Oh.
Yolanda worked as a hairstylist and did everything she could to make sure Wilson always had what he needed. She helped him secure employment, encouraged his goals, and even bought him a Ford Mustang that was customized according to his preferences, including luxury upgrades. To everyone looking from the outside, Yolanda was a caring mother. Those who knew her personally described her as generous, selfless, and deeply committed to her son. She never imagined that the person she loved more than anyone would eventually become responsible for planning her death. On September 1, 2012, Yolanda Holmes went to sleep inside her apartment in Chicago's Uptown neighborhood. At approximately 4:15 a.m., a man named Eugene Spencer entered the building. There was no forced entry. Wilson's then-girlfriend had driven Spencer to the apartment and allowed him to get inside. Yolanda was asleep in her bedroom, completely unaware of the danger approaching her. Eugene moved through the silent apartment and went straight to the bedroom where Yolanda was lying. He lifted his weapon and opened fire. Yolanda was shot as she slept, attacked while she was in one of the most defenseless positions imaginable. But the attack did not end with the shooting. Shortly afterward, Yolanda's boyfriend, who was also inside the apartment, ran toward the scene after hearing the gunshot. A struggle followed between the two men. Eugene attacked him and knocked him unconscious, leaving him severely injured on the floor. Then Eugene received a strange phone call from the person who had hired him. The caller delivered a direct and chilling order. Eugene was instructed to make certain that Yolanda was dead. Acting on that instruction, Eugene went back into the bedroom, where Yolanda was already suffering from severe injuries. He needed to make sure she would not survive. He stabbed her, ensuring that the attack would be fatal. It was an act that was not only violent, but clearly intentional. On the morning of September 2, 2012, Chicago police responded to a call from an apartment building in the Uptown area. When first responders entered the apartment, they encountered a horrifying scene. Yolanda Holmes had sustained fatal gunshot and stab wounds. She was pronounced dead soon afterward. She was 45 years old. Her boyfriend had survived, but he remained unconscious and had suffered serious injuries during the attack. Police quickly realized that this was not an ordinary random home invasion. There were no signs of forced entry. Nothing appeared to have been taken, and the extreme level of violence suggested that the motive was something much more personal. What investigators did not yet understand was exactly how personal the crime truly was. Detectives began by speaking with neighbors, gathering surveillance footage, and securing any forensic evidence discovered inside the apartment. Before long, they found their first significant lead. One of the earliest clues came from Yolanda's boyfriend after he regained consciousness. Although he was unable to identify the assailant, what he remembered about the struggle helped investigators establish a timeline. He explained that the attacker had entered without making much noise and appeared to have one specific objective. Yolanda had been deliberately targeted, and the attacker had left after accomplishing his purpose. That was when detectives began examining Yolanda's personal life more closely, including her daily routine, the people around her, and, most importantly, her relationships. Their attention eventually shifted toward her only child, 23-year-old Wilson. Initially, investigators had no direct evidence connecting Wilson to the killing, but his behavior raised questions. While relatives and friends were grieving Yolanda's death, Wilson appeared unusually distant. He continued uploading videos to YouTube, posting on social media, and publicly showing off his money. For a young man who had just lost his mother to murder, there seemed to be very little outward evidence of grief. Investigators then began examining Wilson's financial activity, and that was when the warning signs became much harder to ignore. In the weeks after Yolanda's murder, Wilson gained access to his mother's accounts and withdrew substantial amounts of money. Nearly $70,000 disappeared from her savings. Bank records indicated that he spent the money on modifications for his Mustang, expensive shopping trips, and large cash withdrawals. In one viral video, he was even seen giving money to strangers on the street, throwing bills into a crowd that cheered around him.
Yeah, man. About to go get this $1,000 out for the fans, man. Really, I'm gonna take out 20,000, man, just to show people. You feel me? I'm on a whole different level with this, man. I ain't, I take this serious, man. So you can't put me in the same category as the other.
That same video, which was later presented in court, became a powerful example of how quickly he had turned his mother's death into a source of money. But it was the digital evidence, including text messages, phone calls, and financial transactions, that eventually exposed what had happened. Detectives obtained Wilson's phone records through a subpoena. What they uncovered was deeply damaging. In the days leading up to Yolanda's murder, Wilson had been communicating with a man named Eugene Spencer. Eugene, who was 22 at the time, had a criminal history and was already known to law enforcement. The number and timing of their calls immediately raised concerns. Investigators also learned that Wilson's girlfriend had driven Eugene to Yolanda's apartment on the night of the killing. That evidence was enough for police to bring Eugene in for questioning. During the interrogation, Eugene admitted that he had been at the apartment. He told investigators that he entered the home, shot Yolanda as she slept, and attacked her boyfriend during the struggle that followed. But what disturbed detectives most was Spencer's explanation for his presence at the apartment. He claimed that Wilson had hired him. According to Eugene, Wilson promised to pay him to kill his own mother. Spencer also alleged that while the attack was taking place, Wilson called him to make certain the murder had been completed, instructing him to go back and confirm that Yolanda was dead. Detectives now had a motive, a confession, and a timeline that matched the evidence. They were ready to act. On December 20th, 2013, more than a year after the crime, Wilson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and home invasion. Eugene Spencer was charged as well. News of Wilson's arrest left the community stunned.
You feel me, man? I don't play no games. You feel me? I don't play no games, man. You know, I do this for real, bro. I don't got no problem with giving back, man. I'm the only one out here with a show that's actually giving back, you feel me? And I got proof to show it, you feel me? Shout out to this fan I'm finna go slide on, man. Finna take care of you.
Some people struggled to believe it, while others claimed they had always sensed that something was not right about him. They pointed to his lack of emotion at Yolanda's funeral, his showy behavior following her death, and the new allegation that prosecutors were making, that Wilson had been the mastermind behind one of the most cold-blooded crimes in recent memory. Then police disclosed the motive. Investigators revealed that Wilson was the sole beneficiary of his mother's life insurance policy. He also had access to her bank accounts and freely used the money after her death.
I ain't gonna say I knew him, but I was like, you know who Christian Cornbread is, right? Mm-hmm. Like Baba's again, Cornbread. Yeah. Him and Chris was on the Reawakening, and the dude, but his mama was too. But Chris went and he did his own show, and that's what I was on. It was called All About Chris, and he had the nigga around, and when he was coming around, he was like, you know, flashy gang, like with the cars that with the doors up and shit, like. And he was like, you could tell he had some bread, so I was low key like motivated and wanted to hang around them niggas. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted their age. But yeah, I felt like I had to touch on the situation because like, damn, bro, like I was around dude, not knowing like that's how he got his money, like, and I wanted to like be around him. Like now I'm glad I wasn't around him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
He didn't simply inherit the money, he took it. Investigators argued that he had planned the killing specifically so he could gain access to those funds. During press briefings, officials described the crime as an act driven by greed. They explained that Yolanda had supported her son emotionally, financially, and personally, providing him with everything from money to help with his career. But in Wilson's eyes, it was still not enough. Prosecutors said he wanted everything. He wanted fame, power, and money, and he was prepared to exchange his mother's life to obtain them. The investigation also uncovered even more disturbing information. Forensic evidence provided additional support for the case. Investigators discovered physical evidence connecting Spencer to the crime scene. They also found security footage showing Wilson and his girlfriend at important locations before and after the murder. Friends and family members testified about Wilson's unusual behavior in the days after his mother's death, including what appeared to be a lack of grief and his sudden spending spree. Prosecutors now had a timeline, a motive, digital records, and an accomplice who was cooperating with investigators. All of it pointed toward the same conclusion. Yolanda Holmes had not been killed during a robbery that had gone wrong. She had been deliberately targeted in a planned killing arranged by the very son she had raised. With both suspects in custody, the case proceeded toward trial. But the public still did not know that this was not the end of Wilson's story. While he remained behind bars awaiting judgment, new chapters were already taking shape. They would involve violence, revenge, and humiliation. The same man accused of arranging the murder of his own mother was now becoming a target himself. And the justice system still had more in store for him. As Wilson sat in the defendant's chair inside a Cook County courtroom, the evidence presented against him created a devastating picture. To prosecutors, this was more than a murder. They described it as the ultimate betrayal. A son who had received everything from his mother had then turned around and arranged for her death. In March 2019, after years of preparation and an accumulation of evidence, both Wilson and Eugene Spencer went to trial. The charges included first-degree murder, attempted murder, and home invasion. From the opening moments, the courtroom was tense, with members of the media, people from the community, and Yolanda Holmes's loved ones filling the room. The jury heard every part of the alleged plot. That included the bank withdrawals and surveillance footage, along with the chilling call Spencer said he received during the murder, when he was allegedly urged to make certain that Yolanda was truly dead. Prosecutors also showed the YouTube video of Wilson throwing large amounts of cash into the air for his so-called fans, presenting it as a clear example of what they described as his fixation on fame and material wealth. They explained how Yolanda had given her son gifts and support, including a Mustang, designer clothes, and a job. Even after receiving all of that, they argued he still wanted more. More money, more attention, and more status. And according to the prosecution, Yolanda ultimately paid for that desire with her life. They argued that Wilson's motive went beyond money and was connected to narcissism and a sense of entitlement. He did not simply want to succeed. He wanted recognition and wanted people to see him as a star. Prosecutors said that if achieving that meant sacrificing the person who had given him everything, he was willing to do it. The defense faced an enormous amount of evidence and struggled to challenge it. Spencer's own statements directly identified Wilson as the mastermind. Forensic evidence supported the established timeline. The digital records supported the claim that the killing had been planned in advance, and the jury was left to decide what kind of person could set such a horrific and deeply personal crime into motion. On March 8, 2019, the verdict was announced. Both men were found guilty on all counts, and then came the sentencing. In January 2020, Judge Stanley Saxes addressed the court and the defendants. He held nothing back. He reminded everyone was reminded that Yolanda Holmes had done everything she could for her son. She had given him love, opportunities, and financial support. In return, she was betrayed in the most violent and unforgivable way imaginable. Then came the devastating sentence. Judge Saxes sentenced Wilson to 99 years in prison. Eugene Spencer was given 100 years. The message was unmistakable. This was not simply a crime committed against one person. It was also a violation of family, trust, and the sacred bond that exists between a parent and child. Inside the courtroom that day, Wilson displayed very little emotion. He remained slouched in his chair and simply nodded when the sentence was announced. When he was given a chance to speak, he said almost nothing, except to claim that nobody had loved his mother more than he did. But to those present in the courtroom, his words seemed empty. The public reaction to the case was filled with disbelief and anger. People struggled to understand how anyone could kill the person who gave them life and then openly display the benefits as though they were a reward. In Chicago's uptown neighborhood, where Yolanda had lived and worked as a hairstylist, her absence was felt deeply. She was not simply another person mentioned in a news story. She had been a loved and respected part of the community. Her clients remembered her as kind, hardworking, and stylish. Neighbors described her generosity, while friends remembered her as a devoted mother. Her funeral, held just days after her death in 2012, brought together many people who still did not know the disturbing truth behind her murder. Some people noticed that Wilson did not. sit near the front of the service and spent much of the funeral outside, appearing detached from the other mourners. In the years that followed, relatives and loved ones continued to speak about their grief, not only because Yolanda was gone, but because her life had been taken by her only child. Her cousin, who had once believed Wilson was struggling with grief, would later explain that the betrayal was deeper than any headline could ever describe. For Wilson, however, life in prison has been far from peaceful. By 2015, only a few years into his pretrial detention at Cook County Jail, he was already experiencing the difficult realities of incarceration. That year, an incident occurred that made headlines and raised even more questions about his safety inside the facility. According to official records, Wilson was assaulted during a confrontation on Tier 3G. The incident started when another inmate suddenly approached him while he was standing near the phones. Without any warning or apparent provocation, the inmate removed the upper half of his jail-issued uniform and took a fighting stance. Wilson initially seemed confused and uncertain about whether the man was actually preparing to attack him, but the situation quickly became physical. The attacker threw a punch, starting a short fight between the two men. A third inmate stepped in and tried to separate them, and for a brief moment, it appeared that the confrontation had ended. But only seconds later, the same inmate came back, and the violence became more serious. Wilson was cornered once again and hit several times. During the struggle, he tried to defend himself and keep the attacker away until correctional officers arrived and restored order on the tier. Later reports showed that the assault involved more than just punches.
It's the 14th of September 2015. Sergeant Contreras is interviewing an inmate involved in a 1010 on Tier 3G. What's your name?
Carmen Wilson.
What's your ID number?
2013-12-24-144.
What happened on 3G?
I was standing by the phones, and then that guy, I don't know him. I don't know where he came from. I don't know who he is. He got off the table and took his shirt off. Unbuttoned his jumpsuit and stepped to me and just got in like fighting position. I thought he was playing. I didn't know if he was for real or what. So I don't know him. I never seen him before. And then he got real close. And then he swung, and then the fight occurred, and then the guy tried to stop it. The other guy tried to stop it, and then it stopped. And then I was looking away. Then next thing I know, when I turned around, he came back up again and tried to swing on me again. And then I just held him until y'all came, and then that's it.
14th September 2015. Sergeant Contreras interviewing an inmate involved in a 1010 on Tier 3G. What's your name?
Mac Williams.
What's your ID number?
2015-02-20187.
What happened upstairs in 3G?
I had an altercation with a young man. Stepped to me, asked me did I want to fight him. I approached him with my fist. He continued to fight, and another guy came in behind me. Other than that, I don't know what happened.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Her to remember this story. Sometimes justice is found not only inside a courtroom, but also in the stories we choose never to forget.